That's it, kids. I'm going to start talking now. Hi. Hi, everybody. Welcome to True Story. Wow. What happened? Are we okay? Okay. That was cool. Thank you all for being here. And thank you to anyone watching from home or anyone watching in the future. This program is True Story. We've been doing it for 10 years now. And it's been, I can't even begin to tell you what an amazing journey this has been for me, for the community that's coming around True Story. Hutch Foster was there at the beginning. Thank you, Hutch. Heather was there at the beginning. Ellen has read. Devorah's here. We have so many people who shared their stories, and I'm honored to be able to create a safe space for you. So thank you all. Thanks, my writers. Tonight's unique. Isadora, there she is. So Isadora Swan came to us as an intern in January, I think. And she and I, we had a little cancer chit chat. And Isadora said, why don't we have a true story around cancer, people whose lives have been changed by cancer is the way that I like to think about it. So that is how this came about. And then from there, I actually wrote the whole story, but I'm going to read it to you later. Nick Ullett was supposed to be with us today. We had recorded his piece, but it didn't come out very well because he did it as a rehearsal for The Moth, which he did last night in Boulder, Colorado. So he is going to get a recording of that for us, and we will post it on our True Story page. So Nick isn't here tonight. Carrie McGuire will be here via Zoom in the second half. So we've got a lot going on today. Before I go any further, I'm going to introduce Kenley. And Kenley, you can come up and explain your program and how Isadora brought you here and what everybody can expect from Play It Back.
Ooh, you know what? I think we might need that stand after all.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
cool.
Wait,
Thank you.
let me find the light
Yeah.
for you. Really, it's one of my few real skills.
Yeah.
Is finding my light.
I look for the light too. Hi, everyone. My name is Kenley Mattis. I am the co-creator and head music producer of a program called Play It Back. Teen Cancer America, which is Roger Daltrey and Pete Townsend of The Who, that's their nonprofit. They sponsor this program. And it started, the genesis was about 25 years ago. I was living in New York City, and a friend of mine asked me to play at Sloan Kettering. And I played a concert there, and I played there a few times. And then they asked if I would go and play for some of the rooms. And by the time 10 years later, we had about 30 hospitals on the East Coast that we had musicians from all over those areas playing in hospitals. And I personally played to about, I don't know how many years, about 30,000 to 40,000 hospital patients and cancer families and staff. And in that process, I was once in a while asked to produce music for some of the young people there who had written a song and moved to LA. And they liked that idea and started to do that with some of the adolescent and young adult cancer patients in LA in my studio in Santa Monica. And now we have over 60 young cancer survivors writing and producing all different kinds of music. Started in LA, and we're all over the country now. And I brought a few artists. And Isadora is one of our artists. She was brought in by her friend Amara, who's a singer-songwriter. And Sam Diaz is another one of our artists from Orange County. So I brought Sam in, and we're going to play a few songs for you throughout this program. And the first song, I guess, should I tell more about the program? I think that's kind of what it is, though, right? And now we're spreading throughout the country, and we have, but spreading through music and good things. But everyone, the AYA community, which is adolescent and young adults, is kind of an underserved population. And music is obviously very important to everyone, but especially to young people. So it's been a great way to really bond and to grow through music. And music, anyone who plays music knows that music heals. So that's what music does for all of us. So Sam, you want to come up and sing this song and talk? So Sam Diaz. Sam is a cancer survivor and an amazing singer. And we'll do your tune first. Yeah. So this is a song that we met about 6 years ago, I think. And 5 years ago. Okay. And so, and Sam had, worked on writing some songs on her own.
Yeah.
But then when she came to the studio, we tweaked something that she wrote when she was very young, and it turned into this.
Yeah. So this is called Like to Be Me. Me and Kenley wrote it. I wrote it when I was in 6th grade.
The beginning of it.
Beginning of it, and we ended it 4 years ago. It's about my stage fright that I grew up with. It was something else before, but I hope you guys like it. If I get too loud, please tell me. As I sit there and cry, I swear that I wanna die. I swear I mean it. 'Cause you'll never know how this makes me feel. As I stand there in lights, it feels like something's not right, and in between it. 'Cause you'll never know how this makes me feel. Sometimes I'm better alone. I don't know. Maybe you just have to go. As I stand there in lights, it feels like something's not right, and in between it. You don't know what it's like to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. You don't know what it's to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. And every time I close my eyes, I see the other side. You don't know what it's like to be me, what it's like to be me, and you don't know what it means to me. As I ask myself why I wanna try, I can't believe it. 'Cause you'll never know how this makes me feel. Sometimes I'm better alone. I don't know. Maybe you just have to go. You don't know what it's like to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. You don't know what it's like to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. And every time I close my eyes, I see the other side. You don't know what it's like to be me, what it's like to be me, and you don't know what it means to me. You don't know. You don't know. You don't know what it's like to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. You don't know what it's like to be me. I just wanna be seen, but please don't look at me. And every time I close my eyes, I see the other side. You don't know what it's like to be me, what it's like to be me, and you don't know what it means to me.
We'll be back.
Thank you.
Later. Thank you.
Isadora, I need to go get a space bar. Yes.
That was awesome. Wait. I want to go back a little bit. You wrote that in 6th grade?
I did.
Let's be clear. I think, if I recall correctly, it was the first few lines of this.
No.
No.
We had the beginning, we
I-
had a couple verses, we had a lot of depressing verses.
Yeah.
And then Kenny was like, this has a lot of potential. And then we just changed it.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. That was fantastic. Thank you.
I was trying to breathe up there with those lights.
Yeah. Get used to it, sister. Get used to it. Okay. From the very day I was diagnosed to this day, while I'm still in the last phase of breast cancer treatment, I have repeatedly and with all good intentions been told, you got this. I know it's meant to instill in me a sense of confidence. I know it's a show of a person's faith in me. But when I hear it, I receive it on many different levels. You got this, as in you got cancer, which I absolutely fucking already knew. You got this as in the person wants to be supportive but is afraid of cancer themselves. So you got this as a way of them to distance themselves because really the burden is on me. Or the person just doesn't know what else to say. Or this person has already been or is still a cancer patient. And when I hear them say, you got this, you will survive this, I know I got this. When the wonderful, compassionate nurse practitioner from Kaiser, the Kaiser Permanente Breast Care Center called me to tell me that I had tested positive for cancer, she said a profound thing. She said, I know I just told you that you have a cancer, but this will not be your identity. This is just something you will go through. What she didn't say was how long it would take to go through, how hard it would be to go through, and who I would be after I had gone through it. I don't have enough distance yet really to know the answer to the last part because while you're going through it, it does feel like your identity. It also feels like it's your daily life. It is your routines. It is your day job. It's your vocation. It's everything if you let it. I was diagnosed during the pandemic, May of 2021, when the idea of having no immune system was completely terrifying. But hey, I was told, you got this. So I took everybody's advice. And when I heard the treatment plan, I just got on the train and let it take me through each station. The surgery stop, the 4 rounds of chemo, the 4 weeks of radiation, the 5 years of medication that makes you feel sick and creepily old before your time while you're just trying to simply live. Alive, that's the goal. Just sit in a chair and be sick, that's your whole assignment. I'm not good in just sitting in chairs. So I decided to do a little something to use my time. I took selfies. I thought I would do one of those digital art pieces that folks were doing when the internet was new, the ones where they took pictures of themselves every single day and then they would do a time lapse of their whole year. I thought I'd do one with my hair falling out and then growing back in like a Play-Doh fun factory because I knew my brothers would enjoy that. But what I ended up doing was documenting my face while I went through the absolutely worst part of my life. I documented my terror and fear, my confusion, my health deteriorating from toxic chemo and then rebounding back to health over and over and over again. And then radiation, which honestly is like a bizarre temp job that you just show up to 5 days a week until they tell you you don't have to come back. I also documented the day I found out my mom was dying, the day she died, the day my dad died, less than 3 months later, one of my closest friends from childhood 10 days later, and then my beloved dog, Claire, my sled dog, the being that got me out of bed all those hard mornings. She was diagnosed with lymphoma and I nursed her through chemo while I was barely out of mine. But I also documented my good days, my rebounds, the days My niece and my nephew were there, the days that I Zoomed with my family, and it all filled me with comfort in their company. Company. It's kind of what I felt these past few weeks preparing for this event. All of us who will share their stories with you today have come together here in community, and we have held each other up to get here tonight. And to be honest, there have been more laughs than tears. In fact, mostly laughs and nods of understanding and smirky smiles as we all say, "You got this," to each other. Isadora came to us a few months back as an intern, and when she and I, during our shared cancer conversations, I'll call them, she asked if we could have a true story around storytellers whose lives have been changed by cancer. And I had already known Nicholas's and Carrie's and how gifted they are at telling them. Then Christopher and I heard about JJ's play at the last Sunday Best session and put us in touch. Then through a contact of Isadora's, Sarah just emailed me blindly out of the blue, enthusiastically to share her story. And we became what every cancer journeyman or woman needs. It's community. And it also reminded me that cancer is everywhere. All of our lives are touched by it somehow. But here's the thing. We cannot be afraid of it. Fear is paralyzing. It will keep you from acting quickly. And that only keeps the cancer in your body, which is the opposite of what you need. So I am so proud of every storyteller here tonight. I'm so thankful that you have all put your trust in me. And here in front of you to share our fears and our chaos, our loves, our comforts, and all of ourselves changed by cancer, but still here, still on the journey, however bumpy and terrifying as we travel from dark to light. I recorded my hair journey from long, various reddish shades of brown to my natural white, which is a genetic trait of my family. And as soon as it started growing in, I knew it was right. It was me living my truth. True story. Thank you. This is Nicholas Cormier, everybody.
Remission. Take 1 tablet by mouth once daily for cancer. Yellow tape around bottle says chemotherapy. That's when it hits me. I've got cancer. I almost crumble. I choose not to. I'm at work. I'm a housekeeper for a hospital. Same one that diagnosed me. I got the job when my girl got pregnant. 6 months after we met. It's a different story. Anyway, I did it at first. Didn't have to go if I wasn't in the mood. Most days. And I planned on quitting. Then I got sent to clean the ICU. It's on the 5th floor, 5 West. Worthy calling, cleaning commodes for incapacitated veterans. Tapped into some secret nobility in me. It was work therapy, literally. Tax-free money, way to get veterans back to the workforce. Becomes untenable soon as I'm one of those veterans fighting for his life. I stash the bottle in a pocket and I contemplate walking out. I go to the 6th floor instead, meditation deck, and chapel's there too. I see my priest and he prays with me and he collects my tears. Kind you don't wipe away. I straighten my uniform and I head back to the ICU and clean. Doctor calls as soon as I get home. Saw you picked up the medicine. How you holding up? He says. Today's a tough day. Bottle says chemo on it. That's just how medicines used to treat cancer are classified. This is targeted medicine. Refuse instructions. 1 pill, once daily, same time, with a meal and a full glass of water. He never tells me what happens if I don't follow these instructions. I found that out the hard way. I asked the doctor one question the day of my diagnosis. Are you sure? Zero hesitation. Yes, because of BCR-ABL, Philadelphia chromosome, genetic mutation. ABL1 breaks off of chromosome 9, fuses with the BCR gene from chromosome 22. Voila, BCR-ABL, new gene, fucking mutant. Fusion creates a protein, activates rapid cell growth, supercharges cellular division 2. Next thing you know, cancer, or in my case, CML, chronic myeloid leukemia. Doc explains all of this, none of which I remember in the moment. My eyes are locked on his reaction to my question. Are you sure? If he'd hesitated, not sure I'd bought the diagnosis, didn't, further explained with a wave of his hand, you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. Told me there'd been a breakthrough around 2001. Medicine called Gleevec acts as an off switch to those multiplying and dividing cells. CML meant certain death in my childhood. Leukemia was a scary thing I heard about on the news. That and nuclear proliferation. Boogeymen for the indigo children. In the 70s, 5-year survival rate was 22%. Now, the 7-year survival rate's 90. Dr. Dean's calling to see if I'm willing to take the pill. I assure him I will. No guarantee it'll work. Doc leaves me with a reminder after one of our calls. There are no free lunches. I never knew how true that'd be. Supernatural, new realm, one that only welcomes those with cancer. LA's angels guide me through. Interactions not forgotten. Before diagnosis, a woman appears behind me in a Walmart. I'm doubled over. She senses my pain. My hand clutches my stomach like I'm trying to keep intestines from falling out. She recommends something stronger than the aloe vera drink I carry or the apple cider vinegar that stares at me from a shelf. Pantoprazole. It's the only thing that helps, she says. It doesn't register. Reads my face. It's the one that starts with a P. Thank you. Remember, it's the one that starts with a P. I hope you feel better. I'm still buckled over, and I nod my head in acknowledgement. I can't shake how beautiful she is. Powerful exchange. Kind or getting the number isn't an option. Too beautiful. Not from this realm. She glows. Model. One for God, not the time. Her kindness brings a hint of tears. It could be the pain. Generosity is the only thing that makes me cry these days. So foreign in a city like this. Lots of oat milk brings relief. Second angel taught me that. I'm frozen. I can't decide which milk to buy. Nurse told me I needed something to cut my coffee with. The Vietnamese man in a mask walks up behind me and Ralph's. Stares. Knows I have cancer before the doctor tells me. Says with an accent, I personally don't have cancer, but oat milk helps. You think I should go with the oat milk? Oat milk kills cancer, he says. Uncanny encounter. Brings relief. Helps prepare me for the diagnosis. Third angel calls me a week later. You'd need to go to the emergency room right now. Right now. Right now. I'd had a CT scan earlier that day. She'd agreed to setting it up for me after I'd argued I knew what was wrong with me. And it was My stomach, not leukemia. The scan came back. Showed more than I'd bargained for. Dissected artery. Could have hemorrhaged. Filled my intestines with blood. Be the cause of all the stomach pain. Pack up my things. I decide to go alone. The girl doesn't want to wake up the baby. African doctor greets me when I arrive in the ER. Do you know why you're here? I nod my head. They think I have leukemia. Good. Some people get sent here and don't know why. He gives me Maalox and some lidocaine, and it numbs my stomach eventually. He calls vascular surgery. They might have to operate. Turns out the damn dissection's vertical, not horizontal. That's a good thing. If it had been horizontal, they'd have to cut me open, fix it immediately. Doctor makes an appointment with the surgeon the next day, then releases me. Before he lets me go, he says, if it is leukemia, they caught it early. While I wait for the surgeon's assessment the next morning, the apartment manager calls. My apartment's flooding. Never left the bathtub running. Divine comedy at play. Somehow, the absurdity abates my fear. Surgeon says there's no way to tell how old the dissected artery is or when it happened. First thought is, it's when those firemen jumped me on 6th and Broadway in downtown Santa Monica. Got arrested that night. They were the detainees. Or could be an old football injury. I'm betting on the former rather than the latter. There is no early with blood cancer, Dr. Dean tells me later. So I take the pill every day, without fail. I can't tell if the medicine's working yet. It accumulates, builds in the body. Fatigue grabs hold and won't let go. Life keeps going. Christmas comes. Different this year. My kids, 2 daughters, get to see both. Wondering if it'll be our last or how many I've got left. I'm still sick. I fly out to Boston the next day, trip to see the in-laws. Doctor called a month earlier to tell me that if I even sniff, I need to go to the emergency room. My white blood cell count dropped so low, I didn't have an immune system. Or it's a shadow of its former self, to say the least. Part of the medicine works. White blood cell count was 500% higher than the normal range at the time of diagnosis. Medicine cut that in half after 2 weeks. It was down more than half of that a couple of weeks later. At the time of Dr. Dean's call, it was below range. That's just the white blood cells, not necessarily the protein that causes the cancer. I got COVID in Boston. Was diagnosed on a Sunday after having chills. I called an emergency nurse. After a few questions, she told me that based on what she just heard, I needed to call an ambulance immediately. Said she'd stay on the phone until they arrived. I chose to drive myself instead. Got swabbed, went home, waited. Call came in an hour or two later. COVID. Rough ain't the word for how hard it hit. Withstood it. Appointment with Dr. Dean came 2 days later. 3-month checkup. PCR test shows that the protein is down to 1.1% detectable in the blood. Goal at 3 months is to be less than 10%. White blood cells show I should be able to fight COVID off. Great news. Pacific Palisades burns down the same night. Studio. Altadena's gone. That cough lingers. Fires encroaching on us too. Fever breaks. There's smoke clouds greet me as I walk outside. But I'm not sure what to do. Decide to pack up the family. Go down south. Seek refuge outside of Camp Pendleton. Recover. catch my breath, fight this damn cancer, these side effects, crippling at this point. Some days, I can barely hold my head up. Getting out of bed ain't easy. I spent the next few months fighting fatigue, along with every illness that flu season brings. Moving goalposts. I don't feel like I'm dying today. It makes a difference. Finite feelings flee. Back in LA. Doctor tells me I'm in remission. Great news. Coupled with a referral to a specialist. Kidney dysfunction. Doc says he almost didn't make it. Wants me to know he's putting in for it, so I won't be surprised if I get the call. Got the call last week. Remission.
All right. So be it. I don't know how a cancer journey is supposed to start, but mine started very strangely and with events that had nothing medically to do with the actual cancer. In October of 2024, I would ultimately be diagnosed with clear cell renal cell carcinoma, and its malignancy would only be 100% confirmed after my surgery on November 4th. Kidney cancers can be real bad. They have the potential for terrible health effects, and depending on the details, not great life expectancy. And one of the more insidious aspects of many renal cancers, including the one I have and am recovering from now, is that they are basically impossible to detect. They have no physical symptoms except for blood in the urine, and even then, as I understand it, if one is tested for renal cancers after reporting such symptoms, the cancer isn't always found. And I didn't have this symptom. Renal cancer was nowhere on my radar, nor my doctor's collective radars, and I see a lot of doctors for a lot of things. So it never would have been found, except for a stupid cough. Rewind all the way back to January of last year. I wasn't doing great. I'd been dealing with rheumatoid arthritis, migraines, and chronic back pain for many years. And since 2020, I'd also had several painful medical situations with my family, including the death of my father, plus numerous creative heartbreaks and the pandemic of it all making things worse. So while I wasn't doing great in 2024, things were definitely better than the previous few years, and things were cautiously looking up. In the spring, I flew to meet my wife in Central California, where she was attending a historical dance camp, as one does, and almost immediately started feeling sick. We had a few days of camping scheduled, and I was leveled by this massive, unexplained fatigue. I was sleeping 14 plus hours a day, falling asleep during meals, sleeping in short car rides, crashing and snoring in public. Something was wrong. I, of course, tested for COVID, which I had twice in previous years, and a bout of pneumonia, thank you, RA, and my weakened immune system. But this time, I tested negative. When we got back home, I went to the doctor. No idea why I had this fatigue. Long COVID, maybe? Because anything unexplained, medically speaking, is going to be attributed to long COVID for the next several years, I'm pretty darn sure. So that was weird, but only just the beginning. While dealing with this fatigue, I also developed this useless, persistent, unproductive, dry cough. It was really annoying. I didn't have other cold, flu symptoms, no sneezing, no fever, no wheezing, just cough. Loud cough, terrible cough. And the cough caused shortness of breath, and no one liked that. I went back to primary care. He kicked me to a pulmonologist to look at my lungs. He sent me on to an ear, nose, throat specialist with several visits to urgent care in between. Pushing for help. This all took months between numerous medicines prescribed, images were taken, nothing really helped, and my cough got worse. Not only was it embarrassing to be in public, I was starting to lose my voice. Like, I couldn't talk. On Zooms, I would only text in the chat, and at the drive-thru window, I used an app to talk for me. My local Starbucks got to know my order because I was the guy who used the robot voice to order. At one place, they thought I was deaf, which was a logical conclusion. And when I picked up my food, they signed "thank you" in ASL, which was very sweet, but also put me on the spot in a way I wasn't expecting. Finally, after pushing a bit more, I got a diagnosis. Silent acid reflux. I had no idea what was happening, no symptoms that I could explain, theme of today's TED Talk. But they saw damage in my throat, prescribed a few medications, and of all things, speech therapy. Turns out I had slowly been ruining my own throat by a combination of whispering too much and losing the directionality of my words as they left my vocal cords. But once that diagnosis came through, and I started working with a speech therapist, things started to turn around quite quickly. To celebrate, I met up with a friend to go to Disneyland. He's got a silver pass. To do some pin trading and taking some shows and some rides. While we were there, I felt a pain in my stomach. Bad. Not like a stomach ache. This felt like I had been punched in the stomach a lot. Outside pain, not inside pain. I wasn't nauseated, but I was dizzy, achy. The whole thing made no sense and was coming from nowhere. I had all kinds of pains and issues, but this was new. Got home around 11 p.m., lifted up my shirt, and there it was, bulging out my belly button. A shiny, new hernia. Umbilical, by the looks of it. I showed my wife, and she looked up a bunch of images online, and it was definitely a hernia. I was in considerable pain. I went to the ER. 8 hours later, because of course it takes 8 hours when you're in considerable pain, I'm in a room after a CT scan. It's definitely a hernia. They give me morphine. I sleep for a few hours. When I wake up, the doctor gives me a packet. Well, before that, he says the hernia isn't an emergency situation, and besides, they can't do anything about the hernia anyway. Not now, because there's a mass on my kidney. And that's what the packet is about. It talks about the size of the mass and the colors of the mass. It's a very mass-forward packet. And he says, you should see your primary care about this right away. Okay, so I do. I see the primary care next week. Primary care says, you should see a urologist about this mass. Okay, so I do. Urologist says, so what are we going to do about this cancer? And if you're intrigued by the premise, check out my play, Life is Pain, a Comedy, a small journey through big healthcare, available now on New Play Exchange. So that's how they found the symptomless, potentially life-threatening cancer. Fatigue, cough, real bad cough, speech therapy, Disneyland, hernia, ER, right scan at the right time, dumb. As an X-ray tech who appeared for the play said to me a week before my successful cancer surgery, stupid cough saved your life. At the time of my diagnosis, my cancer was 3.7 centimeters in diameter. The urologist said, and the oncologist confirmed, that at 4 centimeters, that kind of cancer generally spreads and is a real problem. And they grow at roughly 0.3 centimeters a year. But hey, they found the tumor before it spread. They did the surgery less than a month later. I was in the hospital 4 nights, and after a few months, I was more or less back to where I was, but without the cough, and without one of my kidneys. I didn't have to do chemo or radiation, and actually, I just had my 6-month scan a few weeks ago, and I'm all clear. So 1 more scan in 6 months, then annually for a few years, and then I'm really, really clear. But man, for that month or so, I was living a little outside my body. Everywhere I went, everything I did, was this the last time I was going to see this place or eat this thing or talk to this person? Now, the urologist eventually told me that the surgery I needed was well complicated, fairly standard for this type of cancer, and something he'd done many times. He assured me that I had nothing to worry about, but that didn't stop me from running all the scenarios of all the things a million times a day, which led me to possibly a bad decision. I decided that I didn't want anyone else to worry, so that other than my wife, my mom, my brother, I didn't tell anyone I had cancer. I just didn't want to inflict the mind-spinning what-if machine on anyone else, since there's nothing to be done, not by them, not by me, not by anyone until the day when I had the surgery. And that was a weird choice to live with for that month, too, since I would see people online or in small groups, and I would be thinking about my cancer, and they weren't at all, but that was my doing. But that's what I wanted. But all I had was the worst-case scenario in terms of thoughts. I didn't want to share those or push those onto others, having them as well. After the surgery went well, and it went just fine, I posted about the whole journey, and this was Election Day 2024 of all days. Turns out, unsurprisingly, a number of loved ones were upset and disappointed or even hurt by my decision, not just to not tell them specifically, but to keep it hidden away from everyone. They were mad at me for not letting them worry, letting them carry some amount of the burden that they knew I had been schlepping all over town, trying to be strong when I was not strong. I don't regret not making them worry, but perhaps I do regret not allowing myself to accept care when it would have been graciously. As a mid-July baby, I can't be overwhelmingly shocked to have a cancer experience. I mean, it's been written in the stars for a millennia. And if one is going to get potentially terminal cancer, the way I got mine is pretty much the way to go. But generally speaking, would not recommend it. Moral of the story: get the scan, get the test, get the imaging, go to urgent care, ER if you need to. Book the appointment, advocate for yourself, push as hard for yourself as you would for the ones you love most, because the system is, shall we say, flawed, and a small thing can become a big thing real fast. And when they take your kidney out because it had a cancerous tumor on it, they don't even give it back.
Set up for the second half. But before we do that, I want to introduce you to the bell ringer. It's really good. And I want to tell you something really important. Hutch Foster. Michael A. Shepard is mixing up this cocktail. These two men carried me, Michael physically carried me to the appointments that I was most frightened of. So here's cheers to my husbands. Thank you so much. Heather Robinson got tear gas today. Go check on her, eat some cheese, and get a cocktail, and we'll be back in about 10, 15 minutes. Thank you. somebody if you care to. That's what it's there for you to express. Or draw a picture. Oh, cool. It's eerily quiet right now. All right.
I know.
Here we go.
Goodness gracious.
Let's go. So this, all the artists that we work with, we do original songs. We write songs, make records, and then when we have opportunities just like this or different events that we do, we'll have like Sam will come and sing, or Dora will come perform someday. Where's Dora?
I'm up here.
You haven't performed yet.
Somewhere.
Someday she'll perform with us. So we do that. And then sometimes Sam has done this song, and this is a cover song of Radiohead's song. And I thought it was appropriate. She sings it so well. And I think that the story that I think of is that a lot of the AYAs that are playback artists, they talk about losing their friends when they get diagnosed. And we always talk about that. And I think when we just discovered, I think a lot of adults also, their friends kind of disappear too. And there's probably many reasons. One of the reasons I think of is just people are so uncomfortable with a cancer diagnosis that they sort of say, well, you go through that when you're better, then we'll hang out, you know? And that's
Yeah.
not really
You
what-
hit them with the, I have cancer. They're like, oh, cool.
Good luck. What song all felt like this?
When you were here before, I couldn't look you in the eye. You're just like an angel. Your skin makes me cry. You float like a feather in a beautiful world. You're so fucking special. I wish I was special, but I never could. And what the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't care if it hurts. I just want to have control. Oh, I want a perfect body. A perfect soul. And I want you to notice when I'm around, you're so fucking special. How I was special, but I couldn't I don't belong here. Oh, she's running out the door. You know what the hell am I doing here? I don't know. Never It's so very special. I wish I was special, but I'm a queen, and I'm a widow. What the hell am I doing here? I don't belong here. I don't belong here. To say a few words, Playback has made my life a lot better. Going through cancer as a cancer survivor, I'm a leukemia survivor myself. I had acute lymphoblastic leukemia at the age of 15. And meeting Kenley was probably my biggest blessing of my life. I stopped singing for a long time. Singing has always been my life. And Kenley just brought that love back to me. And it's made me the person standing here today singing for you guys. So I just wanted to say thank you. Thank you for everybody who came out. I love hearing the stories. I'm like over there trying not to cry, putting my head up. I'm like, oh my God, stop. But I'm just very honored to be here with you guys and able to experience this experience. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
So we're about to zoom in. That was really and Kelly, make sure that at the end, I need to know how where your website is.
Yes.
Yeah. Can you give us your URL now?
Yeah, well, we're on the TeenCancerAmerica.org website. So we're a program provided by Teen Cancer America.
So we'll write that on the whiteboard outside,
Yes.
so you guys can find them.
Yes. we'll do that.
All right. We're going to switch on, friends.
Okay, tell me when to go.
Wait, hold on.
Sure, yeah.
You're happening.
Okay, hi, everybody.
Hold on, Carrie, one sec.
I'm out
No,
there.
no, no, we can't do
Hi,
that. We
everyone.
can't
I'm out there. I'm out there. I can't do it. Hi.
Sorry. All right, Carrie, hi. You look awesome.
Do you want a drink?
I do. Cheers. To you all.
Anytime you're ready.
Okay, sounds good. You got this. Such a weird phrase because the world gives us so much that we don't got, that we cannot got. Cancer, for one, is way too much. Too much fear, too much money. The drugs are too much. Health insurance is too much. It's all just too much. And yet we say to each other, you got this. I don't got this. I mean, I did it. I got this, but also I don't. You get it. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in March 2019, and I was getting through it okay. My cancer was fairly low grade, but because it was triple positive, estrogen and progesterone receptive, plus HER2 positive, I had to have all the treatments: surgery, radiation, and the dreaded chemotherapy. The worst part of having cancer, beyond having to process the idea that I had cancer, was chemotherapy, which made me feel hungover for a solid year. TCH, Taxotere, carboplatin, Herceptin for fans of the genre, punched my brain all day, every day for months, leaving me stupid and struggling. But I was trying slowly to move forward. 10 months after diagnosis, I was through the hardest stuff. I had the chemo and radiation were done. I was still getting infusions of Herceptin every 3 weeks, and I started tamoxifen, but that's the fun part of cancer treatment. My scalp showed a fuzzy little regrowth, my period returned, and I was looking forward to getting my brain and body back. time to get back to real life. As part of this, I decided to go to a dance class in Silver Lake. I'm not a dancer, but it's fun and brings me a lot of joy shaking my body around. It seemed like a good way to get back in touch with the people up/that was carrying away. Made me feel somewhat human again. So I was walking down Sunset Boulevard, enjoying the night and anticipating the class when the universe was like, oh, one more thing. As I was crossing the street at Sunset and Fountain, it hit me. A 2016 Honda Civic. Sunset and Fountain is one of LA's chaos intersections. It's a 5-way monster. Because of the weird layout, cars making a left cross the pedestrian crosswalk from behind, so I didn't see anything until I watched my leg being knocked out from under me by a gray bumper. No, I screamed as if they could stop, but it was too late. I flew up on the hood, smacked my head against the windshield, then the driver braked. I rolled off the hood and back onto the pavement. What the fuck? Had that really just happened? Someone hit me? Me, who had been through so much? Who still wore a beanie over my scrubby little cancer head? Someone had the gall to run me over? Oh, it's not often that I pulled out the cancer card, but I got out my wallet. Why did you do that? Shit, I screamed. It was a good question, honestly. Getting cancer seems like enough bad things to happen in 1 year, but they don't stop. What the fuck? You got this. This part was a bit of a blur. I lay on the asphalt in shock. Some people ran over to help. I was confused and so angry, maybe the most angry that I was throughout the entire cancer experience. When I was diagnosed, most of what I felt was disbelief. Now I was furious. The thing is, I wasn't supposed to get cancer. It seemed very unlikely. But what everyone sees getting cancer is that almost everyone feels this way. We feel invincible, like we do all the right things, live the right way, our bodies will never betray us. That somehow, somewhere, there's a formula for right living, and if we stay close to that formula, everything will be okay. The questions that people ask you while you're diagnosed betray that belief. Did your family have a history of cancer, they ask? Did you eat right, exercise, think positive thoughts? Especially for someone like me who was young and in good shape. I get a rundown searching for what I did wrong. Did I drink too much? Live near a nuclear power plant? What can I do to avoid this? They screamed at me. But the truth is, nobody knows. There are obvious things, of course. Smoking is terrible. We should eat a good diet and try to exercise. But beyond that, there's just so much we don't know and never control, no matter how hard we try. Billions of cells in your body are dividing all the time, becoming damaged, repairing themselves, and dying. A body creates damaged cells constantly, and it kills most of them, but sometimes one gets through it. So much has to go right, and so much can go wrong. It's a miracle that we exist at all. So cancer wasn't supposed to happen to me, but it did. And the Civic wasn't supposed to run into me, but it also did. And now the only thing I can do is move forward. You got this. Luckily, my phone wasn't broken, so I called my friend Matt. He arrived before the ambulance, and then he met me in the emergency room at Los Angeles General. And so nice to have a friend with me. As some doctor explained the x-rays and scans he was ordering. My exterior looked okay. There weren't any cuts or visible broken bones, but a lot that can go wrong under the first surface metaphor, which had to be examined. They also gave me a big dose of morphine, so I asked Matt for some help. Text my family that I've been run over by a car, I said. And Matt, this is not a joke. You know, they might think it's a joke. Then the morphine hit. I felt wonderful. Wonderful and in a deep ocean of self-pity. I was a beautiful suffering martyr, a cancer patient who had just been trying to follow doctor's orders and get some exercise, but was instead being sacrificed by a cruel god and an uncaring Japanese automobile. Jesus. Nailed to a hospital bed, I was wheeled around for my trials. an x-ray of my leg, a CT scan of my head. When you're a patient, you stop being a person and become an object, a package to be carted around, tested, and sampled. You're not allowed to do anything yourself, especially not walk wheeled around like an Amazon delivery from department to department. I'm not patient at your door. The orderly sends the hospital equivalent of a texted photo it takes off to move someone else. You, the package, lay in a rolling bed in the hallway, waiting for someone to bring you in. Over the course of the night, the results of the trauma were noted in my files. A subdural hematoma, basically a bruise in the sac around your brain, and a lightly broken leg were the big news. Other than that, I just had a bit of bruising. The injuries were not nearly as bad as they could have been. I was extremely lucky. Because of the hematoma, sadly, I had to stay in the hospital for a night or two so they could make sure that it wasn't a more serious brain injury. I wasn't happy about this, but because I lived by myself, this was especially important. If I had a brain injury, nobody would be around to notice it and I'd die. So after all the testing was done, the hospital guys pulled me into a large communal patient room and I conked out. This was the worst year of my life, but I was so lucky. Lucky that the accident wasn't worse. Lucky that my cancer was only level 1, that it was caught early. And I was lucky that in 2012, the FDA approved a monoclonal antibody that turned my cancer from one of the most aggressive breast tumor types into one of the most treatable. I was lucky that I had gotten health insurance and that they covered pretty much all the bills for my treatment. Extra lucky for this because I was in treatment when I was in treatment for cancer. I did not give a shit and didn't open any of the bills until several months later. And I was lucky that I had a family that cared about me. Because when I woke up the next day, I was still groggy in the same hospital bed that they'd used to wheel me around the whole previous night. My dad was sitting by my side. The night before, Matt texted my family that I'd been run over, but pretty much nothing else. Then I got morphine, was high, my phone died, and I didn't think about it again. My parents, unsatisfied, called hospitals until they found out where I was. Then my dad got onto a flight from Oregon, Ubered to the hospital, and waited next to me until I awoke. I'm so fucking lucky. And I was even more lucky because as I had someone to watch me, the doctors agreed to let me leave instead of keeping me another night. Sometimes you got this means there's someone else there to get it. This wasn't the end of bad things that happened that year. I was still recovering from cancer, and now I had to recover from being hit by a car. In my mind, I gave myself a few weeks to rest up, and then I would start getting back to real life. If you did the math, of course, you'd have realized this was January 2020. So in a few weeks, instead of getting back to real life, an international pandemic broke out, and Los Angeles went into lockdown. A week after that, I found out I had bed bugs. Lockdown in an apartment with bed bugs, and I still had 2 months of infusions left. You got this. The funny thing is, the funny thing is, I did get it. I got through it. I was brave, bruised and sad, but also totally fucking okay. 3 years and 10 days after that accident, my dad died, and I got through that too. I miss him, and I'm sad, and I'm also okay. Because we can get through so much more than we think. It's horrible sometimes, but we can. Other times it's not nearly as horrible as you'd expect, or you don't have the energy to process how horrible it is until months or years later. Until you feel the scar tissue, physical scars on the chest and torso, and also on the soul. Because none of this should have happened, and yet all of it did. I miss my younger idiot self who thought I'd live forever. And I miss my dad, who I also thought would live forever. I miss not knowing what a bed bug looks like, or what it would be like to live through a pandemic, or to have chemo port on my chest, or to know that I could die literally any time, and so could everyone I know and care about. But with all that, I'm also as healthy as can be, and happy, and I have to go forward, and because I have a life and I might die tomorrow, but I also might live until I'm 100. I tell myself, I got this. We got this. You got this. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's
Beautiful.
I didn't know how tied it was to my dad's stamp until I was writing it. So thank you for that.
And, we're with you. We're with
Thank you so much. I'm sorry I can't be there with you, but thank you so much for having me. Thank you everyone for listening.
Well, don't look at that. Yep. Uh-oh, hold on, folks. Isadora?
Yeah.
Sorry. Talk amongst yourselves.
How was traffic?
All right. Okay, Fred. So I want to say, hello, I want to say that Sarah, this is the first time that Sarah is doing storytelling. How? This is the first time you shared any of your writing in front of a live audience?
And yeah.
Yeah? So, we're gonna do
Guys. Hi, Mom. I have a son named Wolf, who we call Wolfie. Wolfie is wild and tender and bad, and the greatest person to ever live. He was diagnosed with brain and spinal cancer just after his 4th birthday. An attempt at anarchy, potato sack racing, and a silk pillowcase down our tile hallway led to his head smacking hard into our tile floors. The CT scan intended to rule out a concussion caught an abnormality, and we didn't leave the hospital for 8 weeks. Cancer in his brain and spine. The following passages were pulled from the diary I kept during Wolfie's 19-month chemo regimen. Entry 1 is in January 2024, 5 months after diagnosis. There is a fascinating and wholly incorrect assumption I've noticed made of me that asserts that I must be getting stronger as these days pass, as chemo takes its toll and the adrenaline wears off and my son turns gray. By sheer virtue of not flinging myself off a building at this point, the assumption is made that I must be internally bulking. I must be gaining muscle mass. I must be getting stronger. It's the furthest thing from the truth. I often find myself thinking of a documentary I saw years ago about a man who nearly died when he became lost and disoriented while hiking. He had a miraculous survival story, and when asked what kept him going and what kept him moving towards safety, he said, I wasn't moving towards safety. I was trying to find a good place to die. I yearn for my motherhood to exist as it once was, untouched by cancer and the threat of death. I remember mothering without cancer barely, but sometimes I'll get a whiff of it, like smelling an old love soap on a passing stranger. I worry constantly. My blood is worry, my bones are worry, and I don't want Wolfie to remember me with trembling hands and teary eyes. I don't want him to remember any of this, but I know he will. This all feels very unending. I met a girl in our pediatric oncology clinic last week who was 19. She had brain cancer. Wolfie she had. She and her mother were back at the clinic for her yearly scan to see if the cancer came back or stayed away. For a brief moment in the waiting room, before we were admitted, it was just the four of us, 2 moms, 2 babies, all without ages or faces, just 4 orbs of love and fear, and we hovered there for a moment. Wolf Juarez, a nurse calls, the orbs shatter, and I don't see them again. Sometimes when I meet parents further down the line than we are, I ask, does the fear ever stop? And everyone says no. Entry 2 is April, 8 months post-diagnosis. The days drag on. We are really struggling. The clouds have drifted in front of the sun, emotionally speaking, and the adrenaline is completely gone. It's just this dark, sticky sack of grief. Wolfie is on a chemo hold because the chemo made him too sick for chemo, which is a very Alice in Wonderland tongue twister if it wasn't about cancer. His kidneys are failing thanks to the miracle of chemo. There is one thought I've been stuck on, and I think of it constantly and can't leave it alone, like running my tongue over a cut on my lip, which is that I am scared to live the rest of my life with a broken heart. I don't think I can do it. This will never not have happened to us. And I try and hide the tapes I play over and over in my brain. The really gory details like the blood and the fluids and the screaming that makes up our day-to-day, it's there. Every night now, Wolfie and I sleep tangled together, just the 2 of us. My husband sleeps on the couch. Our 2-year-old daughter sleeps on the bottom of a half-empty bunk bed. But every night, Wolfie and I return to the co-sleeping we did when he was a baby. Daytime is no time for thoughts and feelings, and I'm a well-oiled machine until bedtime. Then, every night after he falls asleep in my arms, I like to picture myself shrinking back down to 5-year-old me until she's there in bed next to him. At our core, 2 kids who don't deserve this. Entry 3, 11 months post-diagnosis. We now live in 2 worlds. One exists in the vulgar, stinking, bloody world of cancer and chemo, and the other half is being constantly inundated with really sterilized therapy speak from people who have vigilantly kept themselves at least 10 miles away from us since this all started. The platitudes and mentions of our strength feel like the blinding sun bouncing off the hot asphalt in the thick of an LA summer. The people who do care are destroyed by it. And I know I can't save them from their grief. A lot of people can't care because it hurts too much and life marches on. Our friends stopped checking in a long time ago. I don't blame them, but I hate them. No one has ever said a single thing that was helpful, but we must accept everything said with the grace of a state senator. I put on makeup before we go to chemo every week, which is the most meaningless and obscene vanity I've ever displayed. And what I really wish I could do is rip my face off and drive to chemo. I picture myself waiting to turn right on Sunset, blinker on, flesh ripped off my face like a horrifying monster. People endlessly praise us for our strength while we sit calmly dismembered, blown apart like a war movie soldier. I sit on my couch and nod solemnly while I read the long text about how there for us everybody is. My head has been blown off, but I'm so brave. Our limbs are scattered throughout the house like the climax of a slapstick zombie movie, but we pause our decay to receive another text. I'm here for you, we hear. The screaming resumes. It all feels really funny. Wolfie requests the song Take It Off by Kesha on the drive to chemo, and I weep to the lyrics. We are so strong. Everyone is so here for us. What's left of our bodies graciously receive these words constantly, and across the room, my severed head is nodding along. I am so strong. Everyone thinks so. People can't wait to get the fuck away from us, and I don't blame them. We are so brave. Thanks for visiting. This week, when we arrive at chemo, Wolfie's portrait has been added to what they call the Wall of Warriors. Can I take a picture with my picture, he asked. Of course, say cheese. The beeping monitor hooked to his chest port blares incessantly, and another child with cancer screams in the room over. It's just beeps and screams. It's all so bad, but I laugh, and Wolfie laughs too. Entry 4, 17 months post-diagnosis. I keep thinking about when we brought Wolfie home from the hospital. He was so pink and tiny. At the time, we lived in a tiny white bungalow in Atwater Village, and it was a brutal LA summer. Our house was boiling hot all the time. Wolfie had jaundice when he was born, and after I had him, an incredible and shockingly mean nurse told us that the sun helps break down the jaundice in the baby's body. He would be okay, she said. So very dutifully, we woke just before sunrise every morning and took our baby out to the backyard. We would sit in silence and hold his tiny little body in the dappled sunlight. And I remember thinking, oh my God, over and over, oh my God. 4 years and 1 million light years away from those versions of ourselves, we now dutifully report to the godforsaken pediatric chemo clinic every Thursday. After port access, I help Wolfie get dressed. His body is usually hot from screaming because he hates port access. So I hold him and we breathe. He wiggles back into his scratchy sweatshirt, and I remember those sunrises in that backyard. And once again, I think, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. This next entry is the last entry in that journal, 19 months post-diagnosis. I don't write in this anymore, but guess what? Wolfie's recent scans came back stable again. The cancer has been stabilized. Treatment is over, in like a lion and out like a lamb. In March of 2025, 19 months after he hit his head and saved his own life, Wolfie rang the bell. We can breathe, and that whole day is a blur. They'll call us later to schedule the follow-ups, but we are tearing out of the parking lot before they can finish. The sun is out, and we have a life to catch up on. 2 weeks later, we're back to the chemo clinic, just for labs, not chemo, just for labs, not chemo, we tell Wolfie over and over. Port removal is coming too. Wolfie gets his port out this Tuesday. It's a milestone Wolfie has often looked to for motivation. His port has been his proof and what he uses to show his friends his cancer. Always with glee and always with pride, he'll pull down the collar of his shirt with his crooked teeth bared in a grin and say, "This is my port." And on bad days, he would say, "I'm ready for my port to come out now." The day that port was put in was the worst day of my life. I suppose there was some possibility or mystery alive when he had the biopsy, or when the monitor in our doctor's office first lit up with the images of what satanic and sinister growths had been growing when we thought we were safe. Perhaps those moments felt so blinding and cinematic it didn't really register as real, but port installation, that was when it all became very real for me. I hope getting the port out feels just as real. So my journal ends there, and that CVS spiral notebook feels like a war-torn, blood-splattered historical document. I don't remember reading any of it, and part of me wants to go home tonight and burn the pages and pretend none of this ever happened. Cancer, Wolfie? No, sorry, that would never happen to us, I want to say. Before I go, I want to tell you one more thing, which is that at the very end of this street, just 1 block south of the stage I'm currently standing on, sits the tiny white bungalow we brought Wolfie home from the hospital to. It was his first home. In the backyard, we soaked in all those sunrises. I walked past it tonight on my way to tell this story, and I peeked in the window from the street. The blinds were closed, so all I could see is the warm glow of a big lamp the new residents put in. I wonder if I'm still in there. I got the creeps and hurried off, because if I am in there, and if time stood still somehow, I don't want her to find out what happens. I want her to stay in that moment with baby Wolfie as long as she can. Thank you. I know. It's not crazy. It's just at the end of the video. Thank you, Sarah. We can all look. Well, yeah. It's Dora. Okay.
One more story. You guys got this. All right. 2 girls, 1 cabin. Not their cabin, a friend of a friend's. The kind of acquaintance whose booze you steal to make bad margaritas. 2 girls, 1 weekend. The kind of weekend made for sunscreen and hot sauce, sweet tea, and, well, the one is 19, the other 20. Only one made it to 21. But that's jumping ahead. Sweet tea and skinny dipping. Have you? No. Have you? Twice. What was it like? It was like I found my place. No size, no weight, no screen, no name. Just me. Just us? They jumped. Off the boat, into the water. Clear skin, crepe paper thin. Every stroke a stretch. Up above, the sky dirtied. Thunder crashed in. The weight of the day grew thick. No regrets, just sick. The one is 19, the other 20. 19 had 2 years. 2 years clear. 2 years of fear. 2 years of watching. Watching 20. watching her wiggle and writhe under the pain of a slow demise. The bottom of the lake is there. The rock is there. Was there inside us both. 19 and 20. Too young for suffering and too old to cry. Only one made it to 21. But that night, we danced. Music turned up loud. We laughed, our stomachs aching, heads thrown back. That night, in the basement, sirens blaring, a tornado spiraling towards us. What we had been through, were going through, far worse than any windstorm. Hit us, we dare you. Kill us, please. Then at least, we can die together. Best friends, playing Monopoly. That night, in the basement, drunk off stolen booze and sunburns. Wait, come here. What? Do you see this? Yeah, I do. It's new. Another lump, a definite bump. Add it to the list. I was 19. She was 20. 18 tumors, 17 months. 2 girls, 1 cabin. Same oncologist, same therapist, same fears, same hopes, paint flecks and unfinished canvas. Forced to be reckoned with, they said. We felt pretty reckoned, ruined, faulted, need to be returned. Bring me to the as-is section of IKEA. I'll sit amongst the naked chairs and the scarred tables. Girls with no period, girls with no hair, girls with no filter, girls with no faith. No faith in the future, no faith in the world. For what was there to lose when all had been lost? Turns out, I would lose more than I knew I had. 19 and 20. It was 2 days before her 21st birthday. 8 hours before I would get on a flight to see her. Home from the big city, where dreams come true and stars are made. To see my best friend. Or not. I guess not. I guess never. Never again. The 20 to my 19. 2 girls. 1 cabin. And maybe, one day, I'll see you in dreamland.
Sam, what's her name? Who?
Amara.
You know, in theater, when someone passes, we give them a round of applause as loud and as long as we can. So please, everyone stand up and let's hear it for Amara. You guys okay to do one more song?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. All right, one more song, go. But while I have a moment, while you guys are setting up, I want to say that, you know, we've been doing this program for 10 years, and we do it by donation only. But with all of the funding cuts that are happening across California and across the country and everywhere, I will ask you wholeheartedly, if you can, please donate to keep this program going so we can support more important stories and voices that don't get heard and need to be heard. So for those at home watching, or again, those in the future, I love to say that, please go online to estlosangeles.org and support True Story. You okay? One more. Do you want to do the last song or the sing-along? What you want to do?
Wow. I think Amara would be laughing at us right now.
She was also in the program.
Yeah, that's how we met, actually, through Amara. She was a really great singer-songwriter. So this was a song written by Gian Mehta, who I met. He was going through treatment for leukemia, and fortunately, he was the first official playback artist, and unfortunately, he passed away a few years after we met. But in the time that we made music together, he hadn't done any songs for a long time, and he did about 30 songs in the last year before he passed away. And this is one of them. So I've sung this a few times at different events with his family there, and I think it's such a beautiful song. And by the end, maybe you guys can sing along with us a little bit. All right. Hopefully I'll get through this. And Sam's gonna help. Dangerous love, I hear you call my name from above. No push, no shove. Take your fill until you get enough. Hey, well, close your eyes, we can just pretend. Hey, I'm in a dream that will never end. Love is waiting for you, so come on, come on. It's all up to you, so come on, come on. You know what to do, so come on, come on. You know what to do. It's never too late. There's always a time and a place. Warm hands, cold feet. Every time my heart skips a beat. Hey, close your eyes, we can just pretend. Hey, that this moment will never end. Love is waiting for you, so come on, come on. It's all up to you, so come on, come on. It's waiting for you, so come on, come on. You know what to do. I know there must be something wrong, 'cause you don't come out here no more. What can I do to make it right? Drink from the cup of the divine. Love is waiting for you. So come on, come on. It's all up to you. So come on, come on. It's all up to you. So come on, come on. It's what to do. Love is waiting for you. So come on, what to do. You know what to do. So come on, come on. You know what to do. So come on, come on. You know what to do. Love is waiting for you. So come on, come on. You know what to do. So come on, come on. You know what to do. So come on, come on. You're waiting for you. So come on, come on. It's all up to you. So come on. Come on, it's waiting for you. So come on. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Wow, that was so fucking powerful, the whole thing. Thank you, everybody. Everything's been recorded and live streamed, and I'll be editing soon, and they'll be available on our website. Please come back to True Story. Please let me know if you have stories to tell. And I want to thank everybody who helped. Michael Shepard, Hutch Foster, Heather, my co-producers, Christopher Eiling and Isadora Swan. That's it. I'm really sorry about the cheese, but there's plenty of fruit. Thank you.